Before you buy a house in San Diego, there's a few neighborhoods that look absolutely perfect online, but you end up regretting them 6 months later. Now, I want to be very clear, these aren't bad neighborhoods. In fact, most of them are extremely popular and sell very well. So the problem isn't really the neighborhood, it's actually the lifestyle. Now, I work with a lot of relocating buyers, and a lot of them just assume San Diego's exactly like the city they're moving from. But San Diego's absolutely massive, and the lifestyle differences are very different. So today I'm showing you some neighborhoods that you might really regret, and then I'll show you some options that could be way better for you. All right, let's get into it. Now, the first area is downtown San Diego. And look, downtown can definitely look like an incredible place to live. You get restaurants, there's nightlife, great walkability, and there's always something going on in places like Gaslamp and Little Italy. But something you probably don't know is that San Diego isn't really a downtown city. It's actually way more of a neighborhood city. And look, a lot of our main job centers aren't even in downtown. They're in places like Sereno Valley, Torrey Pines, Del Mar, and even up further north in cities like Carlsbad. So I usually recommend downtown for someone that's really committed to an urban lifestyle, but I wouldn't really say it's how most people imagine San Diego. They're probably actually thinking of beaches, maybe a more relaxed lifestyle, and that's not really what downtown's about. Also, just be ready for some of the highest HOA fees in all of San Diego. You're gonna be paying anywhere from $650 all the way up to $2,000 a month. So for that $1 million condo one of my buyers was looking at, his all-in payment was almost $7,000. And that $1,000 HOA fee just didn't make sense for him. So he ended up actually buying a house with a yard and no HOA fee for basically the same exact payment. Now, if you really like that urban lifestyle, there's actually a couple of other great places to look at. So Mission Hills is literally 5 to 10 minutes from downtown, and a lot of people that work in downtown, especially if they have a family, they're gonna look at Mission Hills. And one thing I love about Mission Hills is that you get that true neighborhood feel up here. All the homes have a ton of character, and it's a super walkable area. There's a bunch of different restaurants and coffee shops, some fitness studios, and day-to-day life just feels way more relaxed. Now, let's say you're a little bit younger, or maybe you're single. You can also think about North Park, which kind of leans toward that younger demographic. There's tons of craft breweries and amazing restaurants over on University Avenue, and they have a lot more condos and townhomes, so definitely some cheaper housing options. All right, that brings us to the next area you might regret, which is downtown Oceanside. And this is actually one of the fastest changing areas in San Diego, so you're gonna have to deal with quite a few growing pains. And look, there's actually a lot to like here. You're right on the coast, you've got the beaches, new restaurants, and lots of places to hang out, but just know that you're gonna be dealing with heavy traffic. Now, this is probably the #1 complaint I get about downtown Oceanside, and with a huge new development being built, I think it's only gonna get worse. The 401 Mission Avenue project is 326 residential units, 26,000 square feet of commercial space, and it's right in the middle of downtown. So what that means is more density, more people, more cars, and a lot more congestion. Now, downtown Oceanside is already very busy during summer. Parking is extremely tight, the streets get super crowded, and whenever there's an event going on, it feels absolutely packed. But if you don't mind dealing with that, or let's say you're a younger professional, it really does cater towards that younger demographic, and it's still cheaper than some other coastal areas. Just definitely make sure that any place you get has a designated parking spot. Some of these places don't come with parking, and street parking after 5 o'clock is very hard to find, and that's gonna get old really fast. Now, instead of downtown, you should definitely take a look at South Oceanside. You get way more of that local neighborhood feel, and it's quite a bit less crowded, but you're still really close to the beach, and day-to-day life is a lot more convenient. There's still some coffee shops and restaurants right off the 101, and one of my favorite spots right now is Tanner's, so you definitely gotta check them out if you like smash burgers. Now, another huge bonus about South Oceanside is that it's right next to Carlsbad, so this area is seeing a lot of interest right now. You're basically so close to all of their amazing amenities, super close to their beaches and the village, so anyone that's priced out of Carlsbad or Encinitas, they usually start looking at South Oceanside. And look, I've helped over 70 families buy and sell in San Diego, and I actually grew up here, so if you need any help figuring out which area is going to be the best fit for you, just reach out anytime and I'll definitely help you out. All right, so that brings me to the next area you might regret, which is Fallbrook. Now, I want to talk about something that happened just a couple of weeks ago, and this actually happens all the time. So I was just working with a couple that was really interested in Fallbrook. So we toured a few houses that they really liked, and then I told them to spend a day or two just driving around to different places. Drive to work, drive to some of the restaurants you like, maybe have dinner there, go to the grocery store, really dive into the area and see what you think. And after a couple of days, they both came back saying the same thing. They love the home prices, but the location just doesn't fit their lifestyle. So look, it basically comes down to two things. Number one is, are you okay with a lot of driving? And the second thing is that you're gonna be pretty far away from so many different places. And I actually have a friend that lives out here, and he basically has to plan his whole day around doing almost anything. Like if he wants to go grab dinner somewhere else or take his kids to the beach, it's never just a quick thing. And at first he didn't think it was gonna be a big deal, but he's kind of just over it at this point. So if you're gonna be commuting or you wanna venture outside of Fallbrook and not really spend any time there, then you might end up regretting it. Now, if you do like more of that small town feel, then a great place to look at is Poway. It's way more connected than Fallbrook, and you still get that suburban feel, but the only thing is that it's gonna be a lot more expensive. Now, another thing that's way better in Poway is the schools. It has one of the best school districts, not just in San Diego, but actually in the entire state of California, and that alone keeps home prices elevated. On top of that, they have an amazing outdoor scene. You've got Iron Mountain, Lake Poway, and you'll see people hiking, biking, fishing, so it's a very similar lifestyle to Fallbrook. Also, Poway's really investing in infrastructure right now, which means better roads and way more public amenities. So it's definitely a place I recommend if you want that outdoor lifestyle, but you also don't want to be an hour away from everything. All right, now the next area you might regret is Mission Beach. I get asked about Mission Beach quite a bit, and if you've ever visited, it probably seems like an awesome place, but visiting is completely different than actually living there. Now, this area is on a peninsula, so space is extremely limited, and all the homes are just packed into here. Most of the lots are super narrow, you're hardly getting any yard space, and a lot of these houses were built back in the 50s and 60s. So you end up paying 2 to 3 million for a house that's probably a bit smaller and almost has no outdoor space. And that's really the part that catches people off guard, because on paper, the prices are somewhat reasonable, but there's a reason why they're cheaper. It's also one of the biggest tourist destinations in San Diego. We're talking millions of visitors every single year. People love checking out Belmont Park, there's the boardwalk, the beach, the bay, and all of that brings in a massive amount of people. And if you actually live there, you're gonna feel every bit of that. There's almost no parking, the streets are super narrow, and just finding a parking spot near your house feels impossible. And look, if you're just visiting for the weekend, that's all gonna be super fun and exciting, but when it's your everyday life, it's gonna get old really fast. Now, a great alternative to Mission Beach is Crown Point. It's right on Mission Bay, and the lifestyle is pretty similar, just without all the tourists. It's a real neighborhood where people actually live, and you'll feel that the second you drive in here. You can also look at North Pacific Beach or La Jolla, so there's definitely a few different options, but they're all just a little bit different. So if you want to know which area is a really good fit for your lifestyle, just call, email, or text me anytime and I'll help you figure it out. Now, the last area you might regret is Escondido. And this one's really interesting because a lot of people from out of town love the lower home prices. And look, the price is real and you're gonna get significantly more house for the money, but there's definitely a few things to think about. Number one's the weather. So summers get hot here. Some days get all the way up to 95 or 100 degrees. Also, winters can get very cold at night, so you're getting these temperature swings that people just don't expect. And look, it's not unbearable, and plenty of people that live here are totally fine with it, but if you're moving here specifically for that perfect San Diego weather, that's not really what you're getting. Now, another thing is the lifestyle. Escondido is more of a traditional inland city, and there's not a lot of those more modern restaurants or coffee shops, and it kind of feels like there's not so many new things to do. Now, they're trying to make the downtown area better, so they're looking to get some new businesses around here, but it's still very much a work in progress. So if you're moving from a city where you have a ton of things to do on the weekend with a lot of different food varieties, then Escondido is probably gonna feel like a big step down. Now, a better alternative to Escondido is San Marcos. So I've been around San Marcos a lot the last 10 to 15 years, and it actually feels like a completely different city. Things really started to take off after Cal State San Marcos opened, and now the entire area feels brand new. The first big project they started with is North City, and the thought behind it is to basically build a walkable downtown for San Marcos. And this is only phase 1 they're working on, but there's everything already from coffee shops, restaurants, breweries, apartments, and it's all super walkable. Now, across the street, they've already built about 100 new homes, and they're in the process of building a few hundred more, so this whole area is just booming with new construction. There's a mix between detached homes and townhouses, and I'm getting quite a few buyers looking in these developments. You've also got the whole Lake San Marcos area. There's San Elijo, and West San Marcos is super popular right now. So there's definitely a lot of great things to check out. Plus, the school district is in the top 5 in San Diego. And look, all these places aren't bad neighborhoods, but depending on your lifestyle, you might actually regret it. And whenever we hop on a call, the first thing we're gonna do is walk through your situation. So where you'll be working, your timeline, what you want your life to look like here. That way I can get a really good idea of what you're looking for and point you in the right direction. So if you're thinking about moving to San Diego, then definitely reach out anytime. All my information is on the screen and down in the description. Now, make sure you watch this video right up here where I show you exactly what kind of homes you should never buy in San Diego. All right, I'll see you in the next one.